Hello. Continuing with my ongoing narration of my television show, The New All in the Family, MGMG Films presents The New All in the Family, Episode 12, Scene 3. The theme of Episode 12 is Josh's embarrassment, George Floyd's death, and Joey's no mask citation. And in Scene 3, in another part of town, the news of George Floyd's murder by police, the sickening details recounted by Kamala to Verna, and the massive demonstrations in its wake caused Kamala to want to go out and protest. Her mother shares her upset, but is scared to allow her to get into trouble, plus risk infection, and wants her to stay home. Please keep in mind that due to massive delays in writing and being able to record my script, my narrations refer to events taking place a year earlier. I apologize for this delay. And now for the narration. Internal, insert, TV screen, night, anchor. And, as if we didn't have enough stories of police confrontations with African Americans, a really distressing story has now become news when an African American man died in the hands of police in Minneapolis, sparking outrage in the black community there. Internal, Kamala and Verna's living room, day. Kamala on the couch, disturbed. Oh my God! Internal, insert, TV, screen, downtown Minneapolis, night. Reporter. George Floyd, a 46-year-old black man, was killed by Minneapolis police last night after being arrested for allegedly trying to buy cigarettes using a counterfeit bill. According to video obtained from an eyewitness, Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin knelt forcefully on Floyd's neck in a restraining position for close to 8 minutes while he lay on his stomach on the ground. Floyd repeatedly said, "I can't breathe," as two other officers restrained him, along with Chauvin. Internal, insert, TV screen, TV newsroom, night. Anchor. Thank you, Virgil. Since then, protesters have taken to the streets here in Minneapolis, demanding massive police reform. Internal, Kamala and Verna's kitchen, day. Kamala and Verna are sitting around the table, distraught. Kamala is reading from her phone. Kamala. Ma, look. It says here, 2 Cup Food employees called police to report Floyd. When 2 officers arrived, one tapped his flashlight on the window of Floyd's SUV and told him to put his hands on his head. Floyd apologized several times to the officer, saying he couldn't understand why they were stopping him. After repeatedly asking Floyd to show his hands, Officer Thomas Lane drew his gun, prompting Floyd to cry out, "Please don't shoot," repeatedly, and lifting his hands. Lane and Officer Tao Thao dragged Floyd out of his car, handcuffed him, told him he was under arrest, and walked him to their police car. Floyd fell to the ground. When the officers picked him up, Floyd told the officers he was not resisting, but he was recovering from COVID-19 and was claustrophobic and suffered from anxiety. He said, "I can't breathe," and offered to lie on the ground. Verna. Oh my God, I'm so glad I talked you out of that sex change. Kamala. All right, Ma, shh. Let me continue. 2 more officers arrived, including Officer Derek Chauvin, who took charge as the most senior officer. The officers struggled with a resistant Floyd, who they had managed to get into their car. According to eyewitnesses, Chauvin pulled Floyd across the back seat from one side to the other. Verna. What complete lack of consideration. Now you see why I'm so worried about you getting near any police officers. Kamala. According to witnesses, Floyd was either pulled out of the car or pushed himself out. Still handcuffed, he fell to the ground. While Floyd lay on his chest with his cheek to the ground, Verna. Oh my God! Kamala. Chauvin knelt on his neck. Chokes up, holding back tears. Floyd stopped moving around 8:20. At 8:20, someone across the street began recording video showing Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck, while the other 2 officers applied pressure to Floyd's torso and legs. Kamala shows her mom her phone with a photo of a muscular and stout Calvin kneeling by the back of the car with his neck digging hard into a weak and asphyxiated Floyd's neck under the SUV. Kamala. This witness was forced to stop filming when one of the officers ordered him to leave. On another video, Floyd can be heard repeatedly saying, "I can't breathe. Please." And, "Mama." Officer Lane then asked for an ambulance for Floyd, who repeated at least 16 times that he could not breathe. Verna. "Oh my God, I can't believe that. What animals." Kamala. At one point, a witness said, "You got him down. Let him breathe." After which Floyd said, "I'm about to die." Chauvin told him to relax. Verna. "Oh my Lord, I'm so glad of this pandemic, so you can't go out." Kamala. "Ma, that's not the right way." Verna. "Are you kidding? Of course it's the right way. If the cop doesn't get you, the virus will. It's the only way." Kamala. "No, Ma. We can't keep running from racism and brutality. We need to stand up and fight back." Verna starts to say something, but Kamala starts too. Kamala. "Wait, it's not finished." Finally, at 8:22, the officers called for an ambulance on a non-emergency basis, escalating the call to an emergency status a minute later. Verna. "He can't breathe, and they call it a non-emergency basis? What is wrong with these people?" Kamala. Chauvin continued to kneel on Floyd's neck. Verna. "Oh my Lord." Kamala. By 8:25, Floyd appeared unconscious, and bystanders confronted the officers about Floyd's condition. Chauvin pulled out mace to keep bystanders away. Bystanders repeatedly urged the officers to check his pulse. Officer Quang checked Floyd's wrist, but found no pulse. Still, the officers did not attempt to provide Floyd with medical assistance. Kamala and Verna sit in silence after she stops the reading. Then they look with deep sadness, bordering on anger, at each other. After enough of a somber pause, Kamala. "This can't go on. We've got to do something to end it." Verna. "Let me tell you something, my dear. You think it's just started? This has been going on longer than you can imagine. The moment Africans were first sold into slavery to white men on the African continent, this has been going on. If you didn't measure up to what they wanted, they threw you off the ship, fully alive, in mid-voyage, not just men, but women too. Imagine being on one of those ships being tossed and turned on the stormy Atlantic somewhere far from a strange land and you get sick. They just threw you overboard. You were useless to them. And that's how it's been ever since. Only now it's gone on video cam. Don't kid yourself, darling. It's been going on forever." Kamala. "Well, I want to be the generation that stops it." Verna. "How are you going to do that?" Kamala. "You get out there and protest." Verna. "In the middle of COVID? Are you crazy? Black people will be the first they catch and throw into jail. And that's where you'll really catch it and die." Kamala. "No, Ma, you wear a mask. People are already doing that in Minneapolis. We've got to do it across the country. This can't wait. I'm going to do it even if I have to organize it myself." Verna. "Now look here, Kamala. You're always headstrong, but you never think about how your actions affect the people around you." Kamala. "Well, maybe if you'd get out there and join me, instead of worrying, you'd be so caught up in the fight for justice that you'd see how these actions really affect people." Verna. Let me give it some thought. But you're not to leave here until we clear it together. I don't want you going out there all headstrong like you always do. We need to be measured and careful, and very aware of our surroundings, both virus-wise and white people-wise." Kamala, looking at her phone. "There's already a protest being organized in LA by Black Lives Matter. I'm going to join that."